Our guest today is Dr. Rachael Loeb, a chiropractic physician who grew up in Clarksville, Maryland. She received a Bachelor of Science from Lehigh University before getting her Doctor of Chiropractic from Logan College of Chiropractic. She now lives in Brentwood, Missouri, with her husband, Dan, and dog, Einstein. Must be a smart dog. She loves living in St. Louis and takes advantage of all that it has to offer. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rachael.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Joyce.
It's my pleasure. With people's busy schedules today, why do you think people would take the time to think about their health?
Well, I recognize that being in pain and being unhealthy can affect people in every aspect of their lives, whether it's their jobs, their relationships, their friends, their family, their spouses, how they look, literally everything. I mean, how many times have you not gone to a social event because you've had a headache, or flipped out at a coworker because you were just frustrated because your back was hurting at the end of the day? So when you don't pay attention to your health, you lose out on all the other aspects of other areas of your life. So, I'm just going to give some tips on how people can help incorporate taking care of themselves into everyday activities. So hopefully all of these tips will really help them be the person that they want to be.
Well, I would say that being proactive, as you're suggesting, is really good, because if someone's going to hurt at the end of the day, then they're not going to be able to get work that they want done. So they wait till they're reactive, till the pain's so bad, to go ahead and focus on their health. So being proactive really is a good suggestion for them. Dr. Rachael, as a healthcare professional, what would you say is the most common complaint people are having?
Well, right now in America, people are just exhausted. We're just so overworked. And one of the things I talk to my patients about is, well, did you get enough sleep? And so many of them say, well, I got 7 hours of sleep. That should be enough. And the reality is that might be enough for somebody else, but it might not be enough for you or for that person. So when you sleep, your body repairs itself. It's such an important thing to get enough sleep. So if you change your exercise habits, maybe you start working out more and you get more energy, but maybe at first you work out and it's exhausting. So maybe you need more sleep then. Maybe you stop working out and you need more sleep because you're not doing anything. You kind of go into that hibernation stage. So it depends on how much stress you have. It depends on your eating habits. All of those things can affect how much you sleep. So try to see how you actually feel instead of the hours on the clock. That's a lot more valuable. Another thing people need to look at is how much caffeine they're drinking throughout the day. So many people say, I can't sleep. And then you look at, well, they've had a lot of cups of coffee in the morning, maybe energy drinks in the afternoon, and that could be impacting it. Another thing, people stay up late watching the news or stressful TV shows, and the stress is really hard for people sleeping. What do you think about that, Dr. Joyce?
I think this is such a great idea and something that our listeners should really listen for, because how you feel is the way to look at it rather than the hours on the clock. I know for me, I think naps are great because I have an international business and I have to be up late at night. So make sure that when I start getting tired, I take a little nap, and that really replenishes me. Now, watching stressful shows can keep people up at night, but what about the stress people have in their real life? Isn't that just as bad?
Absolutely, Dr. Joyce. When it comes to stress can cause heart disease, and heart disease is the #1 killer for both men and women. So when it comes to heart disease, we look at genes, we look at what people eat, and we also look at how much stress they have. So many people drive in stressful traffic, and then they get to their stressful job, and then they come home to their stressful house, and, it's one thing after another right before they sit down and watch their stressful TV shows of people getting murdered or whatever it is they're watching on TV. We're not watching as much to make us laugh. So what I like to think is to see where we can reduce areas of stress in our lives. Maybe it's at work. Maybe we can help get more people to delegate more work to get other people to help us. Maybe we can prioritize our work. Maybe we can figure out areas that we're less efficient, even take a class on it to figure out areas we can be more efficient with our time to help us be less stressed. Another thing is when it comes to people's relationships, I like people to go on a date once a month so they aren't just focusing on if the dishes are done or the kids are ready for school or ready for bed. They get that time away from the house, away from the stress, and it doesn't have to be an expensive date just to get away. The last thing is I like to tell people to get a hobby that they really enjoy. And the best thing they can do is get a hobby that also includes exercising so they can benefit their heart in that way. And if you do it with your spouse, that's another thing that can really help. So people watch football games and they say that's their stress reliever, and you watch them, they're screaming at the game the whole time. So that's really not a way that's helping reduce their stress. So find something. I mean, I'm a rock climber, and people all the time get angry at the wall because it's hard. And I look at them and I say, this is not a stressful thing for me. This is where I have fun. So if it's not fun, I'm not going to do that one. So I say that all the time. What about you, Dr. Joyce?
I definitely agree. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. I'm a senior, and I don't really, at this point, have to work 24/7, but I love every minute of my days. I'm so lucky to be with a spouse for 42 years who works just like I do. He loves what he does. So when we do sit down and think about how we're going to relieve the stress, we come up with something we both like to do, and then we do it. So I think that's a really important proponent to give to our listeners. Stress is obviously a slow killer. That's why there are more heart attacks on Monday mornings than any other time in the week. But you started to talk about how your genes and what you eat affects your heart health too. Can you explain how much impact genes actually have?
Of course. Well, that's very complicated, actually. I mean, we've all heard the stories about people who drank alcohol and smoked cigarettes and ate bacon until their 100th birthday. But realistically, that's not most of us. For most people, our genetic makeup is one factor of our health, and how we take care of ourselves is another factor. And the key is you don't know how much your genes affect you and are going to affect your health. So what I like to look at with family history is I like to use that as a benchmark, as a way to look at, if you have obesity in your family, if you have diabetes in your family, if you have breast cancer in your family, to make sure you're screening yourself for those and making sure you're taking care of yourself in the way that your doctor recommends. However, it's not the end-all, be-all. So therefore, just because you have obesity in your family doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be obese. It might mean you have to take better care of yourself. And when it comes to eating right, which so many people don't do because we eat the same way our parents ate. So it's hard to say which is genes and which is because we're doing the same actions that they do. I mean, so many of us go to the grocery store and we buy the same ingredients every week. We go to the same restaurants and we order the same foods. We never get a well-balanced diet. Half of us have never even seen kale or other vegetables out there because we buy the same things over and over again. So we find the quickest version, not always the healthiest version. And therefore, I think people just really need to take care of themselves better, and they need to be eating more fruits and vegetables and lean meats and less of the processed food that we've come so accustomed to these days. And I like to use the Internet to get healthier versions of foods I already like. I like to try new recipes every week.
And that's great advice because most people do have something in their family. In our family, it's diabetes. So my whole life, I've watched what I've eaten, and I've always exercised. So I'm the only person in my entire family of 9 that does not have diabetes or prediabetes. So take charge of your own life. You really have to take charge of your own life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, are there specific foods you would recommend for your patients to cut out of their diets?
Well, I am a big fan of moderation. So therefore, you like alcohol, you can have alcohol in a balanced diet. If you like chocolate, you can have chocolate in a balanced diet. It's a matter of portion sizes. I mean, you go to a restaurant these days and portion sizes are just humongous. I mean, it's unbelievable how much people are looking at and thinking one serving when a lot of times there's probably 4 servings on your plate. So it's not necessarily about what exact foods they're eating. It's about portion sizes. So if they add trying to eat a little healthier plus eating less, they're usually find the right balance. So what I like to do is I like to have fruits and vegetables already cut up. I like to have berries and bananas already in the freezer, ready to go to make smoothies, to have things prepared, because if you're in a rush and you have a bag of chips and you have nothing else prepared, you're going to grab that bag of chips. But if you're in a rush and the only thing available is carrots already cut up with maybe your favorite dip, or you've already got something to throw in the blender to make a delicious smoothie, you're going to go for that instead. Oh, but there is one food that I think America consumes way too much, and that is soda. There's no nutritional value in soda. People think it's good for them because it's a liquid, but it actually dehydrates you, and it's full of caffeine or sugar or the fake sugars that people have. So I wouldn't say to cut it out, but I would say that people maybe can alternate their soda with water. I mean, I have a lot of my patients that, if you love your soda, you can have your soda. Just love every second of it. And I've gotten a lot of them down to one a day or every other day. So therefore, it's not cutting it out. It's just so many people drink liter after liter of soda a day. So that would be the only thing.
Definitely agree with that. I'm a Coke lover, and I have to have my Coke at least a couple times a week, but that's all I have it. And I never understood the size of the portions brought to you in a restaurant. I always tell the waiter to bring me half the portion that they normally would bring and bring me the rest in a to-go box when I'm ready to leave. Then I have dinner 2 days in a row.
Perfect.
That works really well for me. Now, there are all good tips that you give to your patients that you have given us. And so as a chiropractor, tell me what kind of things people come to you for specifically.
Well, mostly I see people with headaches, neck pain, and back pain. And I think that's because 75% of Americans are bound to have one of those at some point in their lives. So they're just so common. I also see athletes, but I see people trying to get in better shape. So they're not trying out for the Olympics. I'm seeing people that are just starting out a running program or a workout class, or starting out lifting or a swimming class. And I'm helping them with prevention, as well as helping them if they have knee pain or hip pain or shoulder pain. Any of the musculoskeletal pains, I help them through their problems. I also see a lot of pregnant women with their changing bodies. So mostly musculoskeletal pain is what walks in my office every day.
Now, sometimes I've heard from friends that lifting weights actually makes their back hurt. What do you say for that? And maybe they're lifting too heavy weights?
Well, there's a lot of different things. Number one, our body doesn't move properly always, so we compensate. So if they're lifting too heavy weights or they're lifting weights improperly, they might be straining their back muscles or using their back instead of their arms or whatever they're focusing on. So you also see it a lot when people try to do sit-ups. They use their neck instead of their ab muscles. So if you have questions about working out, what I would recommend is that you either get a personal trainer to teach you how to do it, or most gyms, if you just ask one of the people that work there, they'll teach you how to use the machines correctly. That way you don't injure yourself. One of the main reasons people stop exercising is because they've hurt themselves, and then they get off track. So either by seeing a chiropractor to prevent injuries, or finding someone who will teach you how to work out correctly will help you avoid some of that pain.
Great advice. Well, could you tell us and explain to the listeners why people have low back pain?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things is we sit all the time. In this culture, we're always sitting. And so sitting our body's not meant to do that. I mean, if you think of our ancestors in years before, we were always on our feet. We were always, running to get our food, versus now we are running to a fast food restaurant to get our food. We sit at work. We sit at home in front of the TV. We sit in our car. We do a lot of sitting. So when it comes to back pain, there can be a lot of different reasons why we have back pain. One can be that the muscles, they're maybe spasming. You can sprain them, you can tear them. You also can have irritation between the joints, called the facet joints. There's also discs in between the bones, which you can hurt. People might have heard of a herniated disc or a bulging disc. And there's also nerves that can get pinched or irritated. They can get pinched by the bones. They can get irritated by the disc, which is not as common as some of the other problems, but it still is possible. And another thing that can be causing back pain is actually referred pain from other areas of your body. So because you have back pain doesn't always mean it's mechanical. It actually can become coming from your kidneys or be coming from somewhere else, which is why it's important to have a doctor, a chiropractor, someone take a look at you to make sure it is mechanical and to help you through it. A lot of what we do is we compensate. If your upper back doesn't move enough, we use our lower back double the amount. we, instead of using our glutes and our hamstrings, which are so much stronger, we use our back muscles, which are not supposed to be as strong. A lot of us also have very weak abdominals from sitting so often. So all of those tied into one can cause a lot of mechanical back pain.
So many people have a job where they have to sit 10, 12 hours a day. They're at the computer. So what do you suggest for these people for them to not have this back pain due to the required sitting that their job has?
Well, one of the things I recommend is having your computer directly in front of you. If it's off to the side, you're going to be twisting all the time. So have your computer in front of you. Also have your feet be able to be flat on the ground instead of waving in the air. So that will help. And make sure that you're comfortable in your chair. That doesn't mean you need to buy all kinds of fancy pillows or anything. But if you just sit down and you can tell you're uncomfortable, get another chair. That's something that a lot of people have. You want to be sitting up straight and have a back to your chair so you can lean back, but have it be supportive instead of, if you lean back and you can go back 1.5 feet, that's not a good chair for you. Another thing I recommend to my patients do is every 20 minutes, just look straight ahead of you, bring your shoulders down and back, and kind of reposition yourself. Because what happens is we lean forward to reach on our computer, and then we lean forward to reach on our computer, and 10 hours later, we're so hunched over. So if you try to reposition yourself every 20 minutes, you're sitting up straight again. So, and the other thing I try to tell people is stand up as often as you can. If someone walks over to your desk and you have the opportunity to stand up and shake their hand, take it, because getting up and out of your chair, go get a sip of water, go take a walk during lunch instead of sitting during lunch, all of those things that can keep your body moving would really benefit your back pain.
No, I really think this is great information, Dr. Rachael, and I just want to talk a little bit more about headaches. How specifically can you help headaches? So many people have so many problems with headaches, and they try all these medications, and nothing works, and they're in bed for 2 days. What can you tell us to make headaches better?
Well, when it comes to headaches, just like back pain, there can be lots of reasons for headaches. So the headaches that I address most commonly are tension headaches. Those are the headaches that start in your neck, and they are between your head and your neck in that area right there. So the top of your neck, the bottom of your head, kind of behind your ears. Those kinds of headaches are often called tension headaches, or what we call cervicogenic headaches, which means from the neck. So you can get headaches from stress. You can also get headaches from dehydration. If someone drinks too much the night before and they wake up the next day, they know they're dehydrated. That's an extreme example. People are dehydrated all the time, which causes headaches. So what I tell people is to go away from their computer, go to a drinking fountain, walk away from their computer, get up and drink a glass of water, which can help two things. Number one, the stress, because they're away from their computer for a minute, and also they can get the water that they need to help dehydrate them. Now, as a chiropractor, when I have someone come into my office, I'll give them an exam to try to figure out the cause of the headache. And then if I find it's a tension headache, then I'll do a lot to help relax the muscles and get the bones moving properly so all of the tension doesn't stay there. So a lot of people will also carry their tension between their shoulder blades, and those can cause headaches as well. That's what I would recommend that you can do at home to try to go away, to try to stay hydrated. All of those things can help try to reduce your headaches. And like we talked about before, just handling your stress.
Most people do not drink the recommended 8 glasses of water a day, and yet we all know that there is water in our food. How much do you recommend people drink so that it's within their reach?
Well, I think it's such a personal thing. I mean, to say that a 350-pound football player needs the same amount as a 120-pound 5-foot female, do you see how there can be a huge difference in the needs? I think that once people feel thirsty, they're already dehydrated. So I like to say that people should have a goal of 8 glasses a day. And if they feel like that's too much for them, they move back to 7, move back to 5. If they're still thirsty, they can move forward to 10 or 12 because of people's body sizes and how much exercise they do makes such an impact. Also, as you mentioned with people's diets, a burger and French fries does not have nearly as much liquid in it as someone having a salad and a bowl of soup. So that makes a difference as well. If people look at their diets, people look at their size, it all can change how much they drink. So I recommend the 8 glasses of water, and then I'll personalize it if I see the person in my office. But for a general public, I'd still say 8 glasses.
Well, it's very important information. I just know a lot of people don't do it, and I'm one of them. It's hard. I bring the water around with me, and it goes from the desk to the chair to the computer. I carry it around and don't drink it, and then I get real thirsty, and I'll go have 3 glasses of water. So it just depends. I think it's like sleep. I think we all need a different amount of sleep, and we all need a different amount of water, depending on what it is that we're doing. Would you agree with that?
I do agree, and I also try to tell people that things become habits after a while, but sometimes we need to train ourselves that we want this to be a habit. So I know for me, I always carry around water and have it with me, but sometimes you get so busy and you get off track. And to get back on track, I'll tell myself, okay, over this 2 hours, I need to drink this glass of water. Over the next 2 hours, I need to drink this glass of water. That way, even though I'm looking at the clock, which isn't good long term, but just to remind yourself something to think about. Other things people can do is by putting a sticker at the top of their computer screen, every time that they see that sticker, they're reminded to take care of themselves. So whether that's drinking a glass of water, whether that's sitting up straight, whether that's make sure you're not grinding your teeth, which is another cause of headaches that people can have, if they look at that sticker, it will help remind them, and they'll be able to do whatever it is that's taking care of themselves without, investing that much to it. Because a lot of these tips you can do in a minute. You don't need to do in an hour and a half. You don't need to pencil in an hour and a half of your day. So that's very helpful.
Well, I like the sticker idea. I think people can stick a sticker. That sounded funny, stick a sticker. But I think that they can put a sticker on their computer, and it would be fun to kind of see the sticker, oh, I need to drink some water. And so that would help you. And then by doing so, you're getting in the habit of drinking the water.
Yes.
Everything is very personalized. Some people see amazing results right away. So if people have never been to a chiropractor, what should they look for?
Every licensed chiropractor is going to have gone to undergraduate school, then gone to a chiropractic school. And in chiropractic school, we spend years learning anatomy, physiology, pathology, diagnosis, x-ray reading, nutrition. You name it, we've learned it about the human body. But, of course, we also learn how to treat patients with chiropractic care. So I spent years in clinic observing how to take care of patients, taking patients on my own. But every chiropractor has done that, but you need to find the right chiropractor for you. So you want to find someone you can trust and you feel comfortable with. So go out and ask around. You might be surprised how many people see a chiropractor or have seen one for one of their problems. So see if you can get a recommendation. Another thing is I give free talks all over the community. So you can always listen out for a chiropractor giving talks in the community, and you'll hear what they have to say and hear what their philosophy is, just so you get a feeling of your personalities going together. I mean, I like to think of them as hairstylists. We've all had a bad haircut and moved to a different hairstylist. With chiropractors, there's so many good ones out there. So if anyone has had a negative experience, you can just go to another chiropractor to have that positive experience, which is why I've heard so many people have so many positive experiences. So I think the best thing you can do is ask around.
All right, that's great advice. Well, everything is very personalized. So what about the chronic conditions like chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia? A lot of people talk about having fibromyalgia.
Yes. Since, as you said, it's such a personal thing, some people with those conditions have huge results from chiropractic care. When you're looking at the chronic conditions, you want to find a chiropractor who treats those more often or who has a great concept of what's going on with those conditions. They're very widespread. So sometimes it's not just about the musculoskeletal problem. Sometimes with those conditions, they'll want to be co-managed, so there will be a lot of different doctors in a lot of different fields balancing their techniques and what they're trained in the best. So it's probably not just one thing that's going to help these people. It's probably a mixture of a lot of these things. So Yes, they can get benefits from chiropractic care, but a lot of times they'll need changes in their diet. They might need to see massage therapists, acupuncturists, their medical doctor as well. So I know when it comes to chronic conditions of low back pain or chronic conditions of a specific area, I'll have people come to me and they'll say, man, if I knew that I could not have lived the last 20 years of this pain, I would have come to you sooner. As I hear that all the time. So when it's a specific area of chronic pain, a lot of times chiropractic help can give huge results. When it comes to the widespread chronic problems, a lot of times it's a matter of maybe we're not getting them 100% better, but really if we can get them 50% better, it can change their lives. So it's still worth trying.
Having fibromyalgia myself, I know that it's very difficult for people to understand what it is you're feeling because it's so individualized, but I have had help from a chiropractor, and I think that it's really helpful information. You have extreme knowledge in your field. What makes you different from other chiropractors, would you say?
Well, first of all, I absolutely love what I do, and then my passion really shows through. So I'm always learning new research and learning new treatment options. So I'm even taking acupuncture this weekend because a lot of my patients were interested in me doing that. So I treat every patient so personally, like they're my relative or a close friend. So I make sure that every patient understands what's going on in their body, understands the treatment plan, and is on board with them and with me, so that way they know exactly what's going on in their body, exactly what's going to help, and why. And I also recognize that I can't do everything. So if I find that I give an exam on a patient and I think that they'd be better off seeing a different kind of doctor, I'll make that referral. So I think that's important. I know someone came to me once and she said, I kind of feel like I'm cheating on my medical doctor coming to see you. And I just kind of chuckled because I have such a close relationship with so many medical doctors that we can refer back and forth to. So, I said to her, well, I'm happy to call her up or write her a letter and explain to her what we're doing here. People can go to different doctors, especially with what I do. I'm not giving medication, so it's not going to conflict with another medication someone's giving. So a lot of times it can go back and forth, and I understand that. So if anyone wants to meet me, I am having an open house there in the St. Louis area on November 7th from 1 to 5. So if people have personal questions, they're welcome to come there and kind of get to know me to see if we would be right fit to work together. So any other questions, Dr. Joyce?
Yes, how lucky your patients are that you care about them and serve as a counselor to them. So you're not just a chiropractic doctor, you're also, in a way, their friend trying to help them. I love that. You have so much knowledge in this area. I would just like to kind of pick your brain a little bit longer.
Oh, absolutely. The best tip I can give someone, I like to say I give health and life tips, and this one is good for both. The best tip I can give you is to laugh out loud as often as you can. To surround yourself by people who love you and people who smile and people who appreciate you and just really love life. If you surround yourself by positive people, that's going to make you feel better. It's going to help you be less stressed. It's going to help you enjoy the life that you have. So that's the best recommendation I can give anybody, just to smile more and laugh more.
Great advice. I always tell people you need to take about 20 minutes a day, even if it's 10 in the morning or 4 times a day or whatever. You need to take that time to laugh because it just releases so many things. And, of course, smiling is the universal language. If you smile at somebody, they'll smile back at you. I think it's great information. Well, you've been very helpful to me, just listening to your suggestions about chiropractic medicine, and I'm sure people will want to get in touch with you. How could they reach you? What is your website, phone number, whatever you would like to give out?
Well, the first thing I would recommend people do is go to my website. It's rlchiropractic.com. There you can find my email address. You can find where my office is. You can find my phone number. That's the easiest thing. I'm also on Twitter, Dr. Rachael Loeb. You can find me there. My last name is Loeb. And so those would be the best contacts for me. My email address, though, is rachel@rlchiropractic.com. If anyone has any questions, I answer them very quickly and very personally. I also have a blog on that website where you can find more tips and tricks, benefits of water, posture, benefits of tea, all kinds of things. And I also take recommendations if people are interested in specific topics that they'd like me to blog about. And I also, every Friday, give a recipe, a healthy recipe that people can try. As I said, try a new recipe every week. You can find it on my website.
Well, you really do go beyond, and I really enjoy talking with you, Dr. Rachael. Thank you so much for being our guest today on the ImageMaker Presents.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, and thank you so much for having me, Dr. Joyce.
My pleasure, too.